Now, let's go live on the Illegal Curve Hockey Show hotline.
We are pleased to welcome back to the program the head coach of the Manitoba Moose, a good friend of our program. Pascal Vincent joins us on the line. Pascal, good morning. Happy holidays to you and yours. How are you?
Good morning, guys. I'm doing really well. Thank you.
That's great, Pascal. Appreciate you giving us your time this morning. Obviously, we have to start with the announcement from last night that the NHL has their return-to-play plan tentatively agreed to. Hopefully, that'll become an official agreement soon. Obviously, that has ramifications for you as the Manitoba Moose head coach. What were your initial thoughts, and sort of did you get that bug of excitement a little bit when you found out the NHL is going to return, which hopefully means the AHL was going to return shortly thereafter?
Well, we certainly hope so. It was certainly a good news, and that's, to me, it's a step moving forward, knowing that there's an agreement between the players and the league. That's a step forward, and we were looking for that day, and hopefully they would come to an agreement. So they did, and now there's obviously more steps to be taken in order to play our first game, but it was a good news, and you know, small good news are great news to us. It means that if the NHL, like you said, if the NHL looks like they're going to be starting, it looks better for us in the American League for sure.
So Pascal, right before we had you on, we were talking about this idea of the taxi squad, which I'm sure you've seen at this point. It's been reported, that NHL teams, as part of this tentative agreement, are going to be allowed to have, 4 to 6 players on it. And obviously, we're not going to ask you, how many players the Jets might have or who those players would be, but just what were kind of your first reactions about this? Because this is obviously, something new. We haven't seen this in previous years in terms of, how it could impact your hockey club.
Yeah, it would. But again, it's our mission here with the Moose, and I'm talking only from the Moose perspective. It's to help the Winnipeg Jets win the Stanley Cup, and our goal is to support and produce and develop our players. Now, what does it mean as far as the taxi squad? I'm not sure. We're not sure of the rules exactly, how many players and who's going to get the call. And there's different. I spoke to quite a few people about this and what kind of a player you send up in the taxi squad. If we are playing it with the Moose, are we keeping our young guys and play them, or we send them up and be ready if needed to play in the NHL, but maybe not play as many games? If we start again considering and thinking that the AHL is going to play. So there's different kind of approaches that we're looking at, but we need the rules to be in place first, and the number of games and understanding if even in the American League, if we're going to start playing at some point, how many games and where against who, and all those questions that we don't have any answers yet.
You're listening to the Illegal Curve Hockey Show. We're live here on TSN Radio 1290. Our guest is Manitoba Moose head coach Pascal Vincent.
Coach, I was talking to Johnny Kovacevic about 10 days ago, and one of the things he was talking about was how much feedback he gets from Mike Keane and Jimmy Roy and on the player development side. Because obviously these guys, especially the guys, not the ones who are in Europe, but the ones in North America, they're not playing games. They're practicing. They're having to stay self-motivated. That's their connection to the team. So what have you heard from the player development guys, really from the mentality on your players? Because like I said, I've only talked to CJ Cease and Johnny Kovacevic in North America, and they've spoke about how it's hard for them to stay motivated, but yet they have, because they know how important it is. And you and I talked about that in April, about you'll see, come around this time, what it'll be like. But what kind of feedback are you getting from Jimmy Roy and Mike Keane on the mentality of your prospects?
Well, they're excited. They're excited to even think about the fact that we might be starting to play again. But there's a lot of, like I was saying, there's so many questions that we don't have any answers yet as far as when. But at least there's a light at the end of the tunnel, so it creates an excitement. Mike and Jimmy are doing an amazing job staying in touch with those guys and making sure they stay sharp. And from our side, from the management side, I think it's going to give us a real good read on who's a good pro and who's not. The guys that really took advantage of that time off, that we didn't want to take the time off, but we had to. We were forced to. We'll have a good indication once we resume playing and skating again who took really advantage of those difficult moments and turned this time into a positive development time. So it's the guys are excited, obviously, because now we're thinking about, okay, now it's possible with the vaccine and the good results we hear from the government and the medical side of the whole thing. So there's some hope, and that's becoming exciting. We're creature of habits where we have deadlines. We have a game. Our life is around games, and then we know when in the normal season we play Tuesday, Friday, and Sunday, for example. So we're going to prepare our week according to the schedule that we have. But we've been out of our elements for a while now, and it's to know that we're going to get back to somewhat something that we're familiar with. It's exciting, but I mean, we were talking about that recently with the coaching staff. We're doing a bunch of projects and studying the game and going really digging in deep on different stuff. Same thing for the players, and it's great and it's awesome, and we do stuff that we normally don't do. But our DNA is playing games and being facing competition and playing to win, and then playing hockey games. So it's the same for the players. I'm sure they enjoy, and the feedback is they work hard and they practice and they try to stay in the best shape they can be physically and mentally. But in their DNA, they want to compete. Now they want to go against another team and compete and then play for a win. So it's there's hope right now. There's hope, and they're excited about that. So that's what I'm hearing from Mike and Jimmy. And we keep stats, and we ask them to get to do some different kind of trainings as far as testing themselves where they're at physically. So we have a few numbers. So there's some long answer to your question, but I guess the word is hope and excitement. That's how they feel right now.
Hope and excitement are good things to have. Pascal Vincent, head coach of the Manitoba Moose, is our guest on the Illegal Curve Hockey Show. You're listening to TSN Radio 1290. Pascal, you have a number of your players that typically would be with the Moose at this time of year playing overseas in Europe and playing well overseas in Europe, I might add. How much attention are you paying to the performances of your players overseas? And are you able to do any video work watching how they're playing? Or is it more just sort of following along in the box scores and maybe chatting with them and seeing how their performance is on a sort of a macro level as opposed to a minute micro level?
Yeah, no, we do have a video feed from those guys, and we have access to video. And because of the way the game is played over in Europe, it's different. The systems are different. For some. The ice is different. The size of the ice is different. So we're not necessarily paying attention. I am not. I'm going to speak for myself. I'm not looking at numbers. When I look at those videos, I'm looking at their feet. I'm looking at their hands. I'm looking at their decisions with and without the puck. But the most important to me right now is I'm looking at their feet and if they're moving their feet. And I see good things. Because all systems are different, and to have a true evaluation of a player, you need to know what kind of system the coach is running, see if they're adjusting to the system. But above and beyond that, in any system, if you're not moving your feet, you're not going to be successful. And it's somehow an indicator on the physical condition the player is in. If he can keep moving his feet for a full game, the intensity level. And the one-on-one battles. I mean, in playing over there in Europe, maybe you have a little bit more time, but when there's a real one-on-one battles. So we look at those components more than anything else, and the numbers and the stats. But we have access to video and on our guys, and we look at how they play, but not necessarily the same way I would do as a coach with the Moose. I look at them more like a scout, and looking at more individual skills than a coach would do when he's coaching his team.
Pascal, we have to ask you about the Birdman. Mikhail Berdin just signed his 2-year contract extension with the Jets, and you know Mikhail very well, as does the rest of the coaching staff. And I remember one of the quotes that sticks out to me, I forget exactly, I believe it was this past year, but you compared Mikhail Berdin, Dave would know this better than me, but you compared Mikhail Berdin's passion for hockey with Marc-Andre Fleury, who of course you coached with Cape Breton in the Q. And can you just, for our listeners, I mean, because you know him so much better than anybody else, can you just talk about his passion and how you've seen him grow as a professional? Because I think people forget that, he's still very young at 21, 22 years old. Yeah.
Well, the passion I was referring to was because there's different kinds of passion, and Marc-Andre is an elite goaltender, most likely going to be in the Hall of Fame. So I need to be careful in understanding what did I mean when I compared those two. And I remember Marc-Andre at the end of the practices, he would take one-timers, he would take many shots, but as much as Marc-Andre is a nice man away from the rink, and when he's not on the ice, as soon as he puts his gear on, he becomes really, he has a real aggressive mindset. And that's kind of a passion to play for the game and to make those big stops and to be the guy is what I see in Birdie quite a bit. He wants to be the guy when the game is on the line. He wants to make that big stops. He wants to, and he does it in practices. He'll take extra shots. He'll work hard in practices. He's a different goalie in so many ways. He doesn't necessarily always rely on techniques. He'll move to a more read and react kind of play. His hockey sense is quite good for a young tender, and we all know that, or the people that haven't seen him play, is play with the puck. And we don't talk about goalies and play with the puck very often, but we have to in Birdie's case, and the reason is because he has a real impact on how we break the puck out when there's a dump in against. So he's really good in that fashion, and he works hard at it. And so the passion level can be different, and it's not necessarily the same, but there's some similarities that I see with Fleury in some aspects of the games and the way he practices. This kid is a different goalie, and he has a different mindset. But to me, one of the most important is how did you deal with pressure, and that's something we can develop with our players and teaching them that side of the game within the game, the mental game. But he's pretty advanced for such a young person. He wants to be that guy, and he wants to. It's almost like he's looking for those pressure situations where the game is on the line or there's expectations on him, and it seems like so far he's been performing well when he's in that kind of situation where for some others it might be too difficult to deal with that kind of pressure. It seems like he strives when the pressure is on the line. So they're all good things. We're excited to have him back. Obviously, the Jets signed him, so he's a good asset for us. He's he's interesting to work with. He's got an opinion, and I like that. But he's a guy that can help us win hockey games. That's for sure.
Coach, you're talking about mentality and players having the right one. And, one player who I think, similar to almost like the way Jansen Harkins was, who never lamented his station, just worked hard, was David Gustafsson. Yeah. And I spoke to him about 2 weeks ago. And, one of the quotes he said to me when I was asking him about, when he got assigned to the Moose was, when I heard I was going down to the Moose, I wasn't sad about it. I knew this was going to be a good thing for me. I would really have an opportunity to train on those things that I need to do to become an NHL player. And, that's a maturity that we generally don't see on a young player. So, how exciting for you, and we don't know what David Gustafsson's role will be, whether he'll be with the Jets or with you with the Moose, but how exciting is it to have, as a coach, to work with a player who understands that it's an opportunity to be with the Moose, to develop his game, to be in the NHL, as opposed to, obviously, the alternative?
Well, they all want to make it to the NHL right away, and why wouldn't they? Like, why wouldn't they think I need to spend some time in the American League? So they all have the mindset of, I'm going to go from my team wherever I am, North America or in Europe, and they want to make it to the NHL right away. And then that's their mindset, and it should be that way. The problem happens when the player, there's a detour in their plan, and the detour for most of them is the American League. Well, and because we don't know, and people don't know over there in Europe, and I'd say here to some degree in North America, how good the American League is. So for a guy like Gustafsson, who started the season with the Jets at such a young age, and being as effective or reliable as he was, because like I was saying earlier, evaluating a player on the stats is one thing, but evaluating a player on how he is able to execute the system and be effective about it and being a positive player. And for him to start the season with the Jets, don't look at the numbers, but for him to be there and to be able to compete at that level was quite something. And one of the reasons it was because of his maturity level. And we all grow differently at a different pace, and then it's human. We're all different. So I wasn't surprised. For Gus, he's I had the chance to work with him now for a little while, but I met him before. I had a chance to communicate and talk with him, and I had a few conversations with the guy, and you can tell right away you're talking to a man. He's a mature person. He has a plan, and he's got some patience in his mentality. He knows what needs to be improved. He knows what needs to be done, and he's willing to do it. And Gus is a real mature person, and he understood without any hesitations that, okay, going back to the Moose will give me first more ice time. Then it's a cycle. It's gonna give me more confidence with the puck. I'm gonna understand even more the systems because we play the same systems. So he saw the real positive out of it, which that's why we exist. And then that's one of the main reasons we exist, to have those guys, the Kyle Connors and the Jack Roslovic and all of them, Gustafsson, to come down in the Moose and just work at their craft within the system, and knowing that, okay, once we push them back up, they're gonna be there to stay. So, and by the end of the season, we could see a guy that is still reliable defensively, had a good stick, strong on the puck, reading the game, being in good positions, but also making plays with the puck and creating that confidence. And that confidence, it takes time, but he was making plays, attacking the blue line off the rush, attacking the net from the corner, going to the net, using his shot, because he has a real good shot, a little bit more, releasing that puck a little quicker. So that's confidence. And for him to understand, even before he got there, I wasn't surprised because of his maturity level, and he understands that that's something he needs to do. He needs to improve, and the American League is the perfect place for him to grow as a player, to eventually go back with the Jets and be an even more impactful player with the Jets.
Well, Coach, last question for you, and it's going to be the hardest one. The Moose team worked very hard on their holiday video. How many takes did it take for you to make to shoot your scene?
Well, you know what? Just one. So I'm really thinking after my hockey career, I'm going to move to LA and hire an agent and become an actor. No, seriously, it's always fun. Those are marketing people and our production people, they're doing an amazing job. They give us the scripts in advance, and we get to understand a little bit more, and it's all fun, right? We do it for to have a little bit of fun, and then to be to do something good for the community. So it's always great. I'm not necessarily comfortable with some of the things that we need to do, because I'm obviously not an actor. But I'm really comfortable with the fact that we do it for the fun of it, and to do something good for the community. So it took only one shot, and I was done. My line was pretty easy. I didn't have many lines, so it was pretty cool.
Pascal Vincent is the head coach of the Manitoba Moose. Pascal, thanks so much for joining us this morning. All the best to you and yours this holiday season, and hopefully we'll be able to see you, even if it's only via Zoom, but we'll be able to see you and the Manitoba Moose in action sooner rather than later.
Always my pleasure, guys. Thank you very much.